Why does a perfect logo sometimes look wrong? In this video, we'll be looking at shapes, the interactions of shapes, and how sometimes mathematically it wouldn't make sense visually. And in this video, we'll be going through a few examples where you need to do these by eye to make sure that visually it looks balanced. So let's get into it. So example number one is overshoot. A circle and a square are never equal. So if you want the relationship between the square and the circle to be equal, you need to increase the size of the circle, like is done here on the right. And it does look bigger mathematically, but the eye reads it as the same because the edges are curved on the circle, and it just creates the illusion that it's smaller if it's exactly aligned. So keep this in mind. So curves must overshoot the straight edges. So make sure that this is aligned by eye. So keep this in mind. Second thing is horizontal lines look heavier. So you see this example on the right, you see the plus symbol, and you can see the vertical and horizontal on the left is exactly equal thickness. And this looks uneven because your brain reads the horizontal line as slightly fatter than the vertical line, even if it's mathematically exactly the same. So to fix this, you need to make sure the horizontal line, as it is done here, is slightly thinner than the vertical line. And this difference creates the balance optically that you need to perceive this as perfect. So keep this in mind. Moving on to number three, the center isn't always in the middle. The reason for this is because shapes like triangle, for example, have this uneven edge, and visually it doesn't look balanced. So to fix this, you need to nudge it a bit to the right to create this balance. And mathematically, again, it doesn't seem like it's in the center, but visually, once you look at it, the right example looks like it's in the middle because of how the shape interacts visually. You need to create that imbalance so it seems perfect. So center it by eye, not by the bounding box. Sometimes you have to even do this for similar shapes where you're balancing and you're trying to center the logo icon to the brand name. In most cases, it's better to do this by eye because doing this mathematically might look wrong overall. Just keep this in mind. Moving on. So the formula is to design by eye, not by the grid. So here are 5 things that we've covered already to make sure that you align this correctly. So first thing is overshoot the curves. Make sure the curves, like circles, for example, are bigger than the squares and so on. Secondly, make sure the horizontal lines are thinner than the vertical lines. Third thing is to make sure you center things by eye, nudge it slightly to the left or the right, depending on where the shape is. If it's going towards the left, make sure you nudge it to the left. And if the peak of the triangle, for example, in this case, is going to the right, nudge it to the right so that it looks more center. Number 4 is to make sure that lighter shapes are slightly bigger than darker shapes because the eye reads this as uneven. So make sure it's slightly bigger so it looks even overall. Then I would suggest you squint slightly and read this again, or just take a step back and see if it looks visually balanced. And sometimes when you squint, you can see it a little bit better because your brain works slightly differently and you can see all the imperfections and imbalances a lot quicker. So keep this in mind when you're designing. So if you want to mark that's tuned to perfection and you want to work with me, click the first link in the description and I'll be happy to review your brand and see if I can be of any service. Thank you guys for watching my video, and